How's it going, guys? Randall aka Shizukatz here on the Tressa's Collectibles channel, and today we're going to be taking a look at an 8-door deck list for BanG Dream Girls Band Party 5th Anniversary. BD 5th focuses on the anniversary trait and individual band traits, rather than focusing on the music trait like in older BanG Dream sets. This makes it an excellent entry point into BanG Dream, or even into Weiss Schwarz in general, since you won't have to pick up a ton of old cards from the previous BanG Dream sets. The deck we'll be looking at in today's video is almost entirely brand new cards, making it extremely easy to put together in one go. Now, without further ado, let's jump right into the deck with the Climax Combos. For our 8-door deck, we'll be running the level 1 Yukina combo from the intro deck, and the level 3 Kasumi combo from the booster set. The level 1 Yukina has an on-reverse combo that discards a card as cost to search up to 2 Anniversary or Roselia characters from our deck. This combo allows for excellent selectivity as well as actively compressing your deck by pulling out multiple clean cards at once, while also filtering unneeded cards out of your hand for the cost. Additionally, Yukina gets plus 2k power during your turn if you have 2 or more other traded characters, bringing her up to 7500 power with a Climax. The downside of running this combo is that it requires reversing a battle opponent, so you'll want to watch out when playing against decks with stronger boards such as Standby. In order to help alleviate this weakness a bit, we're also running 2 copies of the level 1 Rinko. She has an act ability that essentially lets her act as 2 additional copies of the level 1 Yukina combo. By paying 1 stock and sending herself from stage to waiting room, we can bring Yukina combo out from our waiting room and additionally give her up to 5000 extra power, going from 7500 all the way up to 12500 with a Climax. This allows the Yukina combo to remain relevant even into the mid game, with the ability to contest some standby boards or early plays. Our level 3 combo is the new Kasumi finisher, which in my opinion is extremely well suited for the current metagame. On play, we can draw up to 2 cards, discard 2 cards, and blind stock 1, letting her come into play for essentially 1 stock, while also filtering for her Climax or other endgame options. Her Climax combo activates at the end of her attack. Pay 2 stock to burn 2 and gain anti-burn during her battle until the end of the opponent's next turn. This anti-burn is extremely potent against many prominent decks in the current metagame, such as Hololive's Marine, Quint's Nino, all of Kaguya-sama's top ends, and more. However, it does require Kasumi to survive into the opponent's turn. Thankfully, she has a third ability that gives her an additional 2k power during your turn, making her 13k with Climax before any external power boosts. Kasumi also has a 3-0 event that goes with her. This counter chooses 1 copy of your Kasumi level 3 on stage, and gives it -3 soul across until the end of the turn. Not only are you able to shut off your opponent's burn damage with the combo itself, but utilizing this event can simultaneously negate some of your opponent's soul damage as well. This is especially strong against 7 Deadly Sins' Escanor finisher, which would normally not be affected by the anti-burn, since his damage being split into ping 1s is not considered to be damage caused by an auto ability. An Escanor that would otherwise deal 3, 4, or even 5 ping 1s on a front attack can be reduced to a measly 1 or 2, making him significantly less dangerous. While 7 Deadly Sins would normally be able to use Gil Thunder Bouncer to great effect, removing one of your Kasumis, the recent restriction list announcement makes it so that they'll no longer have that option. New lists may adjust to using the Merlin Bouncer instead, but we'll just have to see how the player base innovates that deck to adjust. Starting off our level 0 line is the Mocha on Death Riki. This card allows us to secure any necessary missing pieces for a stable mid-game, such as more copies of our level 1 Climax combo, a Brainstorm, or whatever else we might need. Her effect is on death though, making it susceptible to removal bombs or other similar effects. Ironically, Mocha's second effect, her Alarm, is a removal ability itself. If she's on top of clock at the start of our Climax phase, we can give one of our characters an on-reverse clock removal ability. When combined with some of the high power lines available in this deck, such as Yukina combo brought out via the Rinko level 1, you can remove some pretty valuable high power characters. Our next plussing slot is the Yukina from the intro deck. When another traded character is front attacked while Yukina is on stage, you can pay 1 and sack her to bounce the attacked character back to your hand. In the early game, we want to use Yukina to attack and use her ability for value, netting us a +1 by retaining one of our other characters. Her second ability to gain 1k up to twice per turn when we play another character is perfect for allowing her to easily swing over opposing cards and remain on the board to use her valuable bounce effect. In the mid to late game, if you want to use her as a reverse denial tool instead, you'll want to put her in the back row so that she can readily deny on any lane. Our last plussing slot is 2 copies of the level 0 Mashiro Clean Cut. Sitting at a very reasonable 3k offense, she can use her clean cut ability to move our other characters to the back row after they've already attacked. Between the Mocha, Yukina, and Mashiro, we can play an extremely aggressive early game. We can attack very often with characters that would normally belong in the back row, using Yukina or Mashiro's abilities to preserve them for future turns, or using Mocha's ability to replace them. Now for our back row utilities. I run 4 Brainstorms, with the Aya level 0 being our main Brainstorm. She gives 500 power to the other character in the front row center slot, and has a Rest Self Salvage Brainstorm, with a slight twist. If the 4 cards revealed in the Brainstorm are all 4 colors, you may blind stock 1. This is a rather rare occurrence that you should definitely not expect to succeed, nor should you rely on it, but it's a neat bonus if all 4 colors actually show up. The 4th Brainstorm I run is a 1 of Toko. She's a Rest Self Search Brainstorm, and has a very powerful secondary ability, which is the reason I run the card in this deck. If you have another traded character, you can rest her and then send her to stock. This lets Toko be a handy resource converter in game states where you just have way too much hand. Our other back row is a level 0 Misaki, which is a pretty unique support. She starts out as a simple global 500, but her true power is unlocked when she can marker the level 2 Misaki underneath her using her act ability. Once she has a marker, she can rest herself on future turns to transform into the markered level 2 Misaki until the end of the turn, becoming a marker in the process. The level 2 is a global level assist times 1000, if you are either at level 2 or higher as a player, or if there is a marker underneath her. This is a fantastic offense tool that allows your characters to reach extremely high power levels, with cards like our early plays reaching over 13,000 power, and our finisher Kasumi getting to a massive 16k with Climax. Although the Misaki level 2 has a secondary effect, we don't make use of it in this deck because we don't run any choice climaxes. Finally, to round out our zero line, we have a couple on-play utility pieces. Nanami can search your deck for a character on play, and also deletes a trait from one of the opponent's characters. Against a lot of decks, this won't actually do too much, but against certain strategies that rely on all characters on stage being the proper trait, such as standby quintessential quintuplets, this can randomly ruin their deck. The Masking Climax Swapper is our last level 0, and there honestly isn't too much to say about the card. Having a Climax Swapper in your deck is always handy, and her secondary effect to bounce a front row level 0 can sometimes be used to generate extra soul, or maybe lower an opponent's power line that relies on having other characters on stage. The main reason I chose this one over the Akko Climax Swapper is honestly just because it was green and I wanted another green card to potentially color fix for one of the level 3s in the list, as well as help out the level 1 Maya. Speaking of Maya, at level 1 we only have one card apart from the Yukina and Rinko, but oh man is this card a powerhouse utility option. The level 1 Maya has an ability that's similar to a Fukujiro effect, in that you look at cards from the top of the deck to try to find a level 1 or higher card to add to your hand. Just like Fukujiro, since this effect looks for level 1 or higher cards and not characters, you can also grab events with this effect, such as the -3 soul event for the Kasumi top end. However, unlike Fukujiro, this ability doesn't have a cost nor demerit if you fail to find a valid target. It functions similar to a Kome or Hestia type ability, where you do not discard a card unless you actually add one to your hand, which is absolutely insane. The number of cards you can look at with Maya depends on the number of colors on your stage, so typically your board will have at least green from your Aya Brainstorm and red via one of the Yukina cards, so you'll often be looking through at least 3 cards from the top of your deck, counting Maya as blue. Finishing off your board with a yellow card such as Misaki will allow you to look at the maximum 4 cards. At level 2, we just have a couple counters. First up is the Nanami Memory Kit counter, always a useful option to have in your back pocket, and the other is the Sayo Anti-Change counter. Worth noting that the Sayo does not come from the Anniversary set and does not have Anniversary trait, meaning she cannot be grabbed by our Brainstorms or healed off by 2 of our 3 early play healers, but she can still be searched by the Yukina combo since she has Roselia trait. This is the only card in the deck that doesn't come from the Anniversary booster set, instead coming from the Poppin' Party and Roselia extra booster. However, it costs less than $1, so as long as you can find the card, it's a very painless pickup. Heading into our level 3 line, we have a plethora of early play heal options. We will want to play these fairly liberally, as our Kasumi finisher isn't a healer, but also because the Kasumi endgame package is fairly cheap stock-wise, and we can afford to spend some stock at level 2 on this healer game plan. First we have the 1 of Chisato. She can be early played if we have 4 or more traded characters on stage, and also ignores color condition, similar to Suisei from Hololive. However, since this deck already runs red as one of its major colors, this isn't really as important here. When she's placed on stage from hand, we get to heal a traded character in our clock to the bottom of our deck, and during our turn she gets plus 500 power for each of our traded characters on stage, including herself. The first printing of this card has an error that says she gains 500 for every other character, but rest assured, she counts herself, and can go up to a ceiling of 11,500 power. Our next healer is Rui. She's a 2 or less Climax early play with another irregular heal effect like Chisato. When placed on stage from hand, you can discard a card as cost to choose a traded character from your clock and heal it to hand. Both Chisato and Rui give you the option to heal cards anywhere in your clock, not just the one on top, so it opens up lines of play where you clock level 0 Mocha to try to use her alarm effect, and can heal cards underneath her so she stays on top of the clock. Rui's power line doesn't reach as high as Chisato's on offense, but she sits at a constant 10,500 if you have 2 back row, making her more resilient on defense. The last early player we have is Tai. She's a bit of an uncommon early play condition these days, 6 or more climaxes in waiting room, but she has a much more familiar on-play discard 1 heal to stock effect. This can be helpful in a pinch to pay out climaxes from your stock, or discard extra climaxes right before a refresh, since having 6 climaxes in your waiting room usually means you're getting near the end of your deck. Tae is no slouch when it comes to on-field power either, being a constant 11k as long as you have 2 or more other traded characters. Additionally, she even has a Climax combo list finisher effect. On attack, pay 3, discard 2 to burn 3. And while you usually won't have to resort to this as long as you're sculpting well for your Kasumi endgame, it's nice to have the extra option in case things go south. The last card on our list is the one of Lock Stock Swap. Her stock swap is on attack pay 3, which is quite expensive by normal metrics. However, her on-play ability helps to alleviate the heavy cost. On play, you can sacrifice one of your other traded characters to look at up to 3 cards from the top of your deck, add 1 to hand, send 1 to stock, and send the remaining cards to waiting room. You might recognize this effect from Hololive, as it's on the powerful Marine finisher. Just like Marine, this lock can sometimes be used to dig for a missing piece when your Kasumi's draws weren't enough, so this card has good utility even when not being used for the stock swap effect. Let's take a look at the game plan next. In the mulligan, you will always want to discard at least 1 character to ensure you have a target in waiting room if you trigger an early door climax. You should look to play aggressively with cards like Mocha, Yukina, and Mashiro, attacking a lot at level 0 to build resources and put pressure on your opponent. All 3 of these cards allow you to retain cards moving forward, either by moving your characters to safety in the back row with Mashiro, bouncing them back to hand with Yukina, or replacing them with new options with Mocha. In order to answer our early game aggression, our opponent will inevitably have to field multiple characters of their own, usually giving us some easy reverse targets for our Yukina combo once we're at level 1. Use her Climax combo to search options for future turns based on what cards you have in your hand, as well as what situation you think you'll be in. If you have another Yukina Door Climax in your hand, consider searching more copies of herself or Rinko level 1 to go for back-to-back turns of combo. If you think you'll be going to level 2 soon, consider grabbing early play healers. Also, when using multiple Yukina combos in the same turn, it's sometimes a good option to use her combo to grab a card you don't want so that you can discard it for the cost of a later copy of Yukina. At level 2, you can bring your early play healers into the game to make sure you're at a healthy damage range. Your Kasumis can't do anything if you randomly explode from level 2, so you'll want to try to avoid that if possible. If you can continue using Yukina combo to get more value and sculpt harder for your endgame, you may do that as well. You'll also want to be thinking about whether or not you will need the Misaki back row in any given matchup. The 2-1 Misaki can be a huge offensive boost for your early play line, with Rui, Tae, and Chisato, who normally sit at 10-5, 11k, and 11-5 respectively, going up to 13-5, 14k, and even 14,500. Against decks that really value their board, Misaki is a fantastic card to look for. If you can, try to get the level 0 online with a marker rather than the 2-1 itself. This will not only save you a stock and doesn't require you to have yellow, but also gives 500 global power during the opponent's turn, whereas a vanilla 2-1 will only give power during your own turn. At level 3, you're aiming for 6 stocks so that you can resolve triple Kasumi combo. Ideally, you also have 1 or even both of the -3 soul events in your hand. The Kasumis draw you 2 cards apiece, and you also have Maya level 1 that can also look to add it to your hand throughout the mid game, so you have plenty of ways to try and secure it. Color priority is pretty normal. Prioritize red for your level 1 combo, followed by blue for your auxiliary level 1s as well as your early plays at level 2. Despite yellow and green cards existing in the deck at higher levels, you'll want to prioritize green as your third color for the lock stock swap, as the Misaki 2-1 ideally never has to get played from your hand, instead using the level 0 Misaki to cheat her out. This concludes our deck profile on the 8-door anniversary deck for BanG Dream. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and as always, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comment section below. Up next, we'll have our T++ based on the intro deck, which is basically a renamed trial deck. If you're looking for a way to get into Weiss Schwarz but don't want to break the bank, be sure to check that video out this upcoming Wednesday. In my opinion, this is one of the strongest TD++ we've ever come up with, so you won't want to miss it. Until then, this has been Randall, aka Shizukatz, on the Tressa's Collectibles channel. See ya!